Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our session today. We are really excited to be here in Berlin. What a beautiful day. I'm here today with my colleagues, Toby and Christian. We can't wait to tell you what we do as AWS with sports customers, how we work with them, but also talk about how we collaborate, some information around our collaboration with Bundesliga. And then my colleague Toby will take the stage to talk about how we at AWS approach creating an effective data strategy. And then finally, Christian will take stage to talk about their journey on how they are using data as differentiator at Bundesliga. With that, my name is Elif Dogan. I am Principal Engagement Manager at AWS Professional Services team, which means I get to work with customers, sports, media, and entertainment customers, and help them innovate on AWS. So just creating a little bit of excitement, and we, of course, love working with our sports customers all around the world. You've seen some of the work that we do on this little video. Okay, so before we talk about specific projects, I like to talk about what are some of the key industry trends and challenges that we are seeing in sports. Let's just kind of step back and go back to past. So I don't know, maybe some of you in the audience, when I was growing up, my options of consuming sports content was either going to the stadium to see the game live, or wait in front of TV so that I can watch my favorite team's game. Now there are many more ways to consume content through many devices in real time. Social media, web, applications. This creates a huge complexity because there is constant demand to provide a real-time data and experience to our fans. The remote consumption has become the new normal. In order to serve the fans, we really need to identify the fans and understand them. This is an area probably many of you, even if you're not in sports, can relate to, data. There are copious amount of data out there. So when we talk about sports, we talk about fan data, performance data, and video data. This massive amount of data creates a huge opportunity for all of us to create an effective data strategy in order to really create an effective and business analytics. We will hear Christian talk about this later on, how Bundesliga is taking that journey. And the third area that we see is the legacy media and broadcasting are being disrupted. There are constant demand for dynamic and personalized content from consumers, and that needs to be accessible at anywhere, any devices, and at any time. We also see a trend around sustainability. Our customers are looking for ways to utilize technology to understand their options, sustainability options, report their progress, and track them. As our AWS customers and partners here in the audience, you may already know we have a very peculiar culture at Amazon and AWS. We always start with our customers and work backwards. We are truly customer obsessed. We always seek to understand their needs and outcomes. Many of the world's leading sports organizations, as you see here, are working with AWS Professional Services, and AWS partners to build, migrate, innovate solutions that are reshaping the sports industry. Whether it's predicting the outcome of the next big play, or optimizing ticket prices after a winning season, or improving on-field performance. Technology is changing the game. So how does AWS help work with sports customers? AWS is changing the game of sports by improving the pace of innovation. We change how we collect, analyze, and leverage data for fans, teams, leagues, and their partners. We increase efficiency and ROI. With the vast array of services, AWS makes it easier, faster, and more cost-effective to move existing workloads to the cloud and build nearly anything you can imagine. AWS helps eliminate technical debt, better alignment with the IT demand, and able to move priority projects to much faster. AWS helps sports organizations to deliver high-quality, low-latency content in real time. By transforming the entire matchday experience for fans, both in venue and online, we help our customers to drive fan engagement. So in sports, there are 3 data areas that I mentioned earlier. With computer vision and sensor tracking, we collect a lot of data from the field, and those are massive amounts. So for example, National Football League in the US, we collect 500 million data points per week for their digital athlete program. With the help of course, AI/ML, we are able to actually use this data, monetize it, to create a better fan engagement, but also really inform player health and safety. Also, of course, don't think about improving the game strategy. OK, so up until this point, we just covered at a high level what we do at AWS Sports. Now, I would like to move on and talk about some of the innovative projects that we do with Bundesliga. How many Bundesliga fans are in the audience? Raise your hand. OK, pretty good amount. We are in Germany. So in Germany, love of football is overwhelming. There are about 26 million people every season watching the game in person in stadium. And we are just talking about Bundesliga. Bundesliga has more than 1 billion people, fans around the world, consuming content through all these different channels and devices. Our partnership, AWS and Bundesliga partnership, has started in 2020. And since then, we've been innovating on AWS. Bundesliga is using AI/ML, storage, compute, database, and generative AI services to create a real-time statistics that improve insights into game strategy, better predict the outcomes, and recommend personalized content for fans across mobile, broadcast, app, web devices. So let's look at some of the innovative projects that we achieved together so far. We built these real-time advanced statistics called Bundesliga MatchFact. So how we do that? Every Bundesliga stadium is equipped with 16 to 20 cameras all around the stadium. We collect positional packages, position of the players, and send those about 25 times per second. So for each Bundesliga game, we collect 3.6 million data points. We then, with the help of course, machine learning, AWS machine learning services, Amazon SageMaker, we basically create these advanced statistics that you've seen. There are 15 Bundesliga match facts that we produced to this date, and like goal probability, attacking zone, and you've seen some of the visuals in the video. These statistics are distributed across all the Bundesliga feeds worldwide. Maybe some of you already seen it broadcasted. The top-tier sports products are becoming increasingly more immersive, and there's a higher demand from consumer to consume content that is more local and personalized. This is one of the innovative products that we launched together. The Bundesliga Interactive Feed is an award-winning product where fans can basically interact with the match footage through an overlay. You're able to consume content through your personalized interaction. You can switch between the games and see the statistics at the player level or the team level, and then you can set up your set. So it's truly customized and personalized experience. The next one is I like to talk about the Bundesliga app. When I talk, like artificial intelligence, of course, is playing a very important role in media production and consumption. Here, I'm not going to focus on the production piece, which may be like automated commentary or maybe robotic cameras and so forth, but I will focus on the consumption piece. What you see here is the Bundesliga app. The Bundesliga app is one of the official, the most important digital distribution channels for content and advanced statistics that we saw, Bundesliga match facts. They have millions of users, and fans can leverage Bundesliga app to find additional insights before, during, and after the game. It's real-time, updated, so if you're in the stadium, you can actually interact with the Bundesliga app to figure out what that goal's probability was that you just saw in person. On the left, I just played that one, which you see the players forming at the team level, and on the right side, you see more pass efficiency, like more complex statistics at the player level. We use services like AWS Lambda for serverless compute. For container services, we use Amazon EKS, and then for push notification, we use Amazon Pinpoint. In addition to advanced analytics, we also work with Bundesliga to achieve one of their strategic goals, to create a better personalized user experience on the app. So, as you know, football is a highly emotional product, and every fan is unique. I personally struggle selecting a favorite team. So I have 3 teams that I follow each season, and I want to know exactly when they score, if they've been scored against them, they lost, there's a red card, you name it. So I want to know what is going on. So we find out that based on our research, we found out that average fan is following like 4 clubs. So Bundesliga has 36 clubs. If you do the math, 1.4 million club combination. On top of that, there are personal preferences like demographics, and like every fan is unique, that user behavior will be different. So all these data points are collected, and with the help of AWS service called Amazon Personalize, we are able to create a personalized experience on Bundesliga app. You see here, that Bundesliga can easily display personalized content through the app to the fans based on their unique preferences. With that, I would like to introduce Toby to the stage so he can talk about how we at AWS are approaching and how to create an effective data strategy. Thank you.
So hello everyone, and thank you, Elif. Let's switch a little bit gears. After Elif has showed us what Bundesliga has already achieved with applying data in many of the different products, let us talk about something that is a fundamental element of that, so that you can actually get to those outcomes based on your data. So I will also have a small question for you. Who of you is using data in production at work today? Okay, so everyone who's not showing their hands is simply maybe not in the room anymore. So yeah, almost like all of them. Who of you had the plan or wants to have a data strategy in the future so that you get more value out of your data? Okay, maybe half. And who of those would say you already have one and you successfully see the outcomes that your organization is accelerated in using data? Okay, some shy ones. Okay, well, we have some. But you see, there is still a very big gap between those organizations that want to become data-driven and especially want to accelerate in getting value out of that, and the organizations that actually at this point and say, okay, we are there, we are already getting value out of our data as we expect that. So even years ago, we already had surveys, and it's just one example of many, that showcase that being data-driven is valuable as an organization. So then the question is, based on that, and this is even before generative AI, now with generative AI, things even, let's say, changed a little bit more because, yeah, generative AI needs a lot of data, and you need your own data to make the best business use cases out of generative AI. So let's say the goal is clear. We want to have a data strategy. But as we have just seen in this room, and also surveys show that, in a survey we see that only below 30% of organizations say they are successfully applying a data strategy. We see that many organizations still struggle to actually build up a data strategy. So the question is, what are the challenges? What is organizations keeping them from applying a data strategy? What we see is that many organizations face very high upfront investments. What they put into the data strategy, what they put into building data platforms, until very much later, they actually see value out of that. Then we see that data strategies, and especially the technology, the data platform they build, is not aligned with the business objectives. So the organization is not starting with something they want to achieve. They say, we will build a data platform, and this is where they start first. And especially very often, data strategies are very much focused only on the technology and not on the other aspects that are very important to have a good data strategy. So the question is, what actually is a good data strategy and how to get there? So what I will show you is a methodology that you can use to get very easily started in building a data strategy. So you have seen with the hands showing up for how many have applied a data strategy successful. We are still at this point that we need something to get started very easily. At AWS, we have a perspective of what actually a good data strategy is. At first, and I think this is really important, is a data strategy should accelerate creating value out of data. Sounds simple, but when you now think about maybe when you discuss data strategy, very often we see that these points get out of focus. You start to talk about platforms and stuff like that. You don't talk about, okay, how do we get more value out of that? What are the business cases for that? And then sometimes you completely ask different questions instead of, okay, how do we store, the data in the right way? So the next thing is, it should be very much focused on the current business objectives of your organizations. And business objectives change over time. So this means your data strategy should be agile. You should not try to build this data strategy that is lasting for a very long time, because the environment, your own goals, everything will change in between. A successful data strategy also spans multiple domains. So it is not only covering the tech people in your organization, but it's also covering the business people and everyone that wants to have more value out of the data. And the data strategy should lead to that those different teams are aligned on the actions they are doing. Everyone needs to work together to actually have a successful data strategy. This coordination of multiple teams actually is like one element that shows why it is quite challenging to build up a data strategy. So you should try to bring those different teams really together. So how do you achieve that? How do you build a data strategy that fulfills those capabilities, those characteristics? You will need to improve the capabilities of your organization. So what you could do, you could start with like bringing all the teams in your organization together that are relevant, and those teams do a full assessment of, okay, what do we have today, which data types do we have, where do we want to go. Then they try to align all together on a huge data strategy. And this data strategy, of course, because it was a lot of effort to create it, should last for 3 years. So you see, okay, this is not the best approach, because there are many challenges and risks with this approach if you go that way. At first, it's simply exhausting. Bringing together so many teams in a huge organization and then aligning everyone, that costs a lot of energy. Then, the next thing is, because you think in a very big data strategy for a long time, the outcome for each team that is working as part of this building the data strategy is showing to them much later or never. So you don't really have a lot of motivation. They feel like, okay, why should I do this if there's nothing directly for me in it? Then, and I mentioned this before, is it's simply impossible that your organization, the data you have, what you want to achieve with it, the goals are staying the same for a long time. So you will need to adapt with your data strategy. It should be agile. So let's do it a different way. This time, we will simply start with just one team. And now this team will define the business objectives, and it will define business objectives where they say those business objectives might be affected by using data in the right way. So they envision the right business objectives that are relevant for using data. Then, based on that, they envision an idea of a solution, how do they get there. Of course, to build this solution, they might not have all the capabilities they need for this right now. If they would have, they would not need actually a data strategy. Then they could just go there and do it. But what they actually will do is, okay, based on a catalog of capabilities, which capabilities do I need to build this solution that is in direct focused on my business objectives that I have? And then they can say, okay, those capabilities are the ones that we want to improve so that we can then build a solution and then can get to our business objective. And this will be done in a cycle of just multiple weeks. It depends on your organization if you want to do it in like 3 weeks or in 3 months, but it should be a short time frame. So this means that the team that is doing that will have, after just some weeks, already some outcomes. Of course, they won't change the whole culture and everything in their behavior, but they will see small steps forward to increase how good they are in getting value out of their data. And because it's just a small time frame, you will take out capabilities one by one and work on them, instead of having a huge pile of things that you want to build up before you actually get to that. And I have never seen an organization that really says, we can afford to stop everything for 6 months and let everyone in our tech and business people build our new data platform and our data strategy and everything together. Because yes, you need those people also for other things. So you should go one by one in small steps. We like to say, think big, but start small and then scale fast from there. So with this approach of one team, where this team should be motivated because it sees the outcome pretty early, and also the approach is much more aligned to their current working anyway. Let's say they work in agile sprints, for example. They could just do this in combination with like 2 or 3 sprints in parallel together with that. I talked about a catalog of capabilities, and this is like one example of a catalog that you could use, because the question is, how do you know which capabilities are out there? Which ones should I use in my organizations? Which one do I need? So this is where one reason why we have the cloud adoption framework for AI, machine learning, and generative AI. It simply gives you a long overview of capabilities your organization could have an example at different levels. What does this mean? What do you have to do to actually fulfill those capabilities? And this will be used by your teams, not at the high management level for everyone, but at your teams to say, okay, now I know this and this capability might be the one that I need for my next business outcome. Over time, what we see when organizations go down that path is they change those catalogs over time. So they, for example, add more capabilities that are more specific to your organization. Okay, now we have a methodology for one team to start. This is a good starting point. But as I said, our last part after start small is scale fast. So how can you scale this over time? The good thing is, because you do this on a team per team per team basis, you can actually do an incremental adoption of the teams. So you can add teams at every cycle, and this gives you some flexibility, like when should you add how many teams. To align those teams, we will simply set up one meeting in the beginning of each cycle where at least one of the teams meeting together, and they will exchange on, okay, this is the idea that we have, what we want to build next, and these are the capabilities that we need to actually go there. They will exchange on that for two reasons. Simply to show others, okay, what are we doing? Maybe you can learn something from that, but also, and that's more important, the dependencies between the teams. Because in the real world, we don't have teams that are completely disconnected from everyone else. There's always some dependencies. So this is the meeting where they will understand, if we want to improve this capability, you have to improve another capability on your end first. Then they will go through the cycle, they will improve their capabilities, hopefully they will improve it in a way as expected, then they can build their next step in the solution. And then we have another meeting at the end of the cycle, they meet again, they share outcomes. This is simply helping you in motivating each team against each other, because they see others are moving slowly forward. Okay, it's not that difficult, I will try that too. And it will also help, of course, exchange some learnings so that others can learn from that and maybe reuse even something that they have built. The cool thing is, if you use a catalog for that, and you say, let's say we have a catalog of 40 different capabilities, you can even measure the process. So you can measure based on how many capabilities a team has improved at which level. You could give it a score and make it some kind of gamification and give them something when they reach a score of 1,000 or something. And this will lead to that those teams over time will accelerate, and it will motivate more teams to join this way of improving your data strategy over time. And this will actually accelerate your organization in getting value out of data. So it is think big, start small, but then scale fast. Now you might say, okay, this sounds very good, but there are some decisions that we have to do in our organization that are done at management level, and we're not doing this at the team level, and that's true. And you can then just treat your management as another team participating in this methodology. So they will also have at least one coming to this first meeting, and the teams will say, we have this and this and that we want to do. We want to improve our capabilities, but we need a North Star. Where do we want to go with that? Please, management, this is the capability you have to improve. I will give you a short example to showcase you how this could look like in real life. So let's say we have a website team, and this website team has the business objective to do a more personalized website. Their solution is, okay, at first we need to have better segmentation for our customers so that we know actually how we can personalize our website and who to address with that. Then they look at the existing capabilities and the capabilities that are possible, and they see, okay, we actually have a good tool already that we can use for that, but we don't have the right process and the right people for that. We need to upskill our people, and we also need to have a process. Someone needs to look at those data. Sometimes we see that organizations have the right data, but they simply don't have the process that people will go and look at that data at the right point to do a decision based on that. So this is what they say. Then they go to the first meeting and they share with the others, and they say, to go that way, to have this process, we would like to have a self-service platform from our BI team, for example, so that we can look at that data. So they will give a request to have a capability in another team in this meeting. This other team will then build this solution for them so that they can then use this from there on. And this self-service capability is, of course, then possible to be used also on other occasions by this team the next time. And this will then just go from cycle to cycle, increase the number of capabilities. So now I would like to say hello to Christian so that he can come on stage and he will tell you how Bundesliga is applying this and what they have done recently to get more value out of their data. Thank you.
Thank you, Elif. Thank you, Toby. Thank you all for being here with us today. Imagine you're going to a tech conference. That should be an easy task for us all. I mean, we're all here. What are the things that you take back home? It's, of course, awesome swag, maybe a tiny cold, some expected or unexpected newsletter subscriptions. But most importantly, it's a lot of new ideas and inspirations. And also sometimes themes like the world is asynchronous, or we heard it today also, data is the differentiator. So data is the differentiator. What does this actually mean? And my goal for today is then when you go out of the session to have a clear answer on that question, to have a clear answer on what it means for us at Bundesliga, but also how you might use our interpretation as your inspiration to find answers on your own. And when we speak about data at Bundesliga, we speak about data at different kind of levels or layers. So we have this foundational layer of match footage with more than 160,000 hours of historical football matches and associated metadata as part of the world's largest media archive for football. And then we have sports data. Elif talked about this, 3.6 million data points that we collect per match in terms of positional data, and round about 1,600 match events per single match. And we use those data layers to create new insights. And Bundesliga match facts are actually a very good example of what is possible when we combine match footage with sports data, providing new experiences, a new way of value that we provide to our fans and our partners. And it also introduces a lot of new data points. So XG, expected goals, ball possessions, passing profiles. These are also then new data points that are created as part of those insights. And then we have this final layer of business data and KPIs that we use as our main feedback channel to get areas of improvement, to know where we can do things better, where we solve problems for our fans and our partners. And we understood over time that when we are able to make this data in these layers accessible and connect them, that is actually our superpower to create value, additional value for our fans and partners, and solve their problems in a way. And let me show you how these layers can be connected along one of our past projects, and actually the first project where we leveraged generative AI. And to set us a bit in the right mood of the importance of this technology, this quote here from my colleague Dirk, I think needs no further explanations about what generative AI means for us. So this project that I will talk about today would not have been possible without this technology. Let me give you a bit more business context about this and about the project. So we see overall that the media consumption behavior of our fans worldwide is changing. So there was a recent study published by DFL, by AWS, and the Otto Beisheim School of Management, expecting that most audiences will consume top-tier sports content on mobile devices in the future. And also experts in the media and entertainment industry acknowledge a significant decrease of attention spans of media consumers. And that means for us that in the future we have to produce more short-form mobile native content. And when you look into the existing content that we publish through our official Bundesliga app, for example, you already see a mix of mid-form and short-form content. But you also see those, let's say, traditional articles, so the things that you can read. And those were written basically for our website in mind. So means that you can get some match news, interviews, you can get special news about players or clubs. And we were asking ourselves, how can we transform those mid-form or more maybe long-form articles into engaging mobile native short-form content? And how can we produce actually better content for our fans? And here the idea of Bundesliga Stories was born. So we built a solution that is capable of transforming any article that we published for our website into a series of slides. And instead of reading through the whole article and spending a lot of reading time, you can simply swipe through those slides and get a fast understanding about the key aspects of this article. The whole storytelling is supported by a title, a description, and also a relevant and appealing image, or maybe also potentially video footage in there. It's fair to say that does not sound like the most innovative idea to come up with something that is there on social media for a long time, but given from where we start, it's an experiment with a clear hypothesis of increasing engagement and retention without completely changing the game how we produce content today. And we are not the biggest publisher in the world. If you look at those 4,000 articles that we publish per season, but it's very unlikely that we will hire a bunch of new editors to exclusively produce those Bundesliga stories. And it's also very unlikely that our existing team will write awesome articles and then transform and create for every written article also a Bundesliga story. So generative AI to the rescue, we thought that this could actually be a very helpful solution approach. And we use Amazon Bedrock and Anthropic Claude large language models to actually do the task of transforming an article into a series of slides into a Bundesliga stories. And a very central aspect of creating a story is finding the perfect image. And finding the perfect image is a data-driven decision. And what we know about our images is basically what an AI knows about images. And to be honest, in the past, the data points that were associated with an image were limited. We had some free text captions, copyright informations, alternative text, but we also had what is called a match ID. And a match ID is a unique identifier for a Bundesliga match across all competitions and seasons. And we can now use this match ID to connect dots between our data layers and look up basically any kind of match information that we need and that we use. And by doing this, we now know that this is not just an image taken by a photographer in the stadium. It's an image of a Bundesliga match. It's an image from match day 24 of season 2018-2019 between VfL Wolfsburg and SV Werder Bremen. And that's a whole new level of data insights that you can connect to an image and augment images by just connecting the dots, in this case, without any AI needed for the first step. But we can use this to leverage the capabilities of AI, and that's what we also understood about data makes the differentiating part for doing awesome things with AI in the end. For example, we can use Amazon Recognition, a serverless image and video analysis service with computer vision capabilities. And that has some very nice features, like label detection. So it is able to detect persons in an image. That's nice. But as you see in this example, there are a lot of persons in this image. So we wanted to use all those data points and connections to detect players in an image and not the persons in the background. And the feature that we use is, the feature that we use is called a custom face collection. And that enables us to basically detect faces and associate them with additional metadata. And in order to do this, we have the very good position to have high-quality images of all players and staff members. I mean, we not just have a few of them, we have all of them. So basically, during our Media Days shootings that are happening in the winter break or before season starts, we produce more than 700 portrait cutouts of staff members and team members, and we feed the custom face collection of Amazon Recognition with those images and associated metadata. And in total right now, we have augmented 116,000 images and detected nearly 1 million persons in this, and can relate 200,000 to players and staff members. And that's really where these cutouts and this match footage that we have is really helpful to create additional insights. Basically, from now on, we can process every image and find any player and staff member in these images, and providing even more, more business value and data associated with those images. So now we know that these are football players, not dancers. We know that the left person here is Wout Weghorst, at this time playing for VfL Wolfsburg, and also in the starting 11. We know that the right person is John Anthony Brooks, also in the starting 11 and a goal scorer, which makes him as a kind of perfect candidate for writing a match story about this particular match. But it might also make sense to use those data points for different purposes. By having the data points associated to an image and the bounding box around this face, we can use simple math to just doing an automated cropped image in a 9:16 format that is ready to be published for Bundesliga story as a mobile native content format. And for certain situations, it might make sense to put John Anthony Brooks here in the focus. But what about him, Wout Weghorst? Maybe he was the assist giver, or maybe we want to reuse this match footage that we have and combine this with the data points and write a personalized story about the player in general, or customize the existing match story in a more personalized way for the Netherlands markets. All this is now possible by connecting the dots between those layers and making them accessible. So we know from the past that relevant and appealing images drive fan engagement, and that's the business value behind all those data points and the connections that we made. That enables new experiments. We can play around with different cropping angles, image compositions, filters, if we like, to see how they perform and what kind of combination drives more fan engagement and impacts retention. On the other hand, improved searchability of those images makes it not only easier for us as humans to decide if this is the perfect image or this, but it enables an AI to do the job for us. And in our case, actually, the large language model does the initial image selection and lets human decide what kind of image we actually want to have in the story. We also now understand why people are talking about growing data over time, because I think based from this story, you can also imagine that we see data growing across all of these layers, feeding back new match footage, creating new insights, creating new data points, and making them accessible. Introducing new challenges to store, to access, and making those data also available and process them in the end. Also new challenges in terms of data governance, security, and costs, of course. And that's why we need a data strategy to guide us through the process to treat data as an asset and understand and building a bridge to business value and the outcomes we want to achieve. So I would like to rephrase the quote from my colleague slightly, saying that this project would not have been possible without data in the end with the quality that we produce right now. And this is why data is our differentiator. And I hope this little story and those insights that are provided helps you in finding answers for your own business, for your own customers or partners. And if you want to know more about what we do at Bundesliga together with AWS, feel free to join us right here after the session. Come visit us at the Bundesliga Free Kick Challenge. And if you want to know specifically more about data strategy, visit the data strategy for Gen AI booth in the AWS World. And thank you all for your time on being here.